If you want to transform your presence from ordinary to extraordinary, if you want to learn how elegance extends beyond your wardrobe into every aspect of how you present yourself to the world, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Your journey toward becoming a man of true influence starts with understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Elite men understand that their silence should create anticipation, not anxiety. The difference lies in context and confidence. When former FBI agent Joe Navarro negotiated with insurance companies, his strategic use of space and silence was calculated to achieve specific outcomes. When Bernard Arnault restricts media communications, he is protecting strategic information while maintaining control over his empire's narrative. These are not accidents. They are deliberate applications of psychological principles that have been tested in the highest stakes environments. The fashion parallel continues to illuminate these concepts. Quiet luxury brands deliberately limit production to increase exclusivity. They understand that scarcity creates desire more effectively than abundance. Similarly, your words become more valuable when they are rare. Brunello Cucinelli's commitment to humanistic capitalism and ethical production reflects a long-term perspective that prioritizes relationships over short-term gains. This philosophy translates directly to personal interactions, building trust through consistent behavior rather than impressive speeches. Consider the advanced techniques employed by master negotiators. They use what experts call dynamic silence, pauses that vary in length and intensity based on the emotional temperature of the room. A brief pause might signal consideration, while an extended silence might indicate serious concern or displeasure. These variations create what psychologists call variable ratio reinforcement, the most powerful form of behavioral conditioning. Others become hyper-aware of your responses because they cannot predict when you will speak. The neuroscience supports these observations. Brain imaging studies show that silence activates the default mode network, the brain state associated with introspection, creativity, and strategic thinking. When you pause before responding, you literally access different neural pathways than when you react immediately. This biological advantage explains why strategic silence produces better outcomes. You are operating from a more sophisticated cognitive state, but the ultimate test is practical application. In boardrooms across Silicon Valley, executives report that the most influential leaders are often the quietest ones in the room. They speak less frequently but carry more weight when they do contribute. In high-stakes negotiations, the party that maintains composure during uncomfortable silences typically achieves better outcomes. These are not coincidences. They are predictable results of understanding and applying psychological principles. The luxury goods industry provides the perfect analogy for this behavioral strategy. Hermès maintains waiting lists for their Birkin bags, not because they cannot produce more, but because scarcity enhances desirability. Patek Philippe advertises that you never actually own one of their watches. You merely look after it for the next generation. These brands understand that true luxury is about exclusivity, heritage, and the stories that products tell about their owners. Your personal communication strategy should follow the same principles. Make your words exclusive by being selective about when and how you use them. Build heritage through consistent, principled behavior rather than flashy gestures. Create stories through your actions rather than your announcements. This approach compounds over time, creating what Warren Buffett calls the snowball effect. Small, consistent advantages that build into substantial outcomes. The digital age has made these principles more important, not less relevant. Social media rewards the loudest voices in the short term, but platforms also punish users who post too frequently or appear desperate for attention. The most successful personal brands online mirror quiet luxury principles: high-quality content, consistent messaging, and strategic restraint. They understand that influence is built through value creation, not volume production. Professional advancement follows similar patterns. The executives who rise to the highest levels are rarely the most talkative in meetings. Instead, they are the ones who listen carefully, ask strategic questions, and speak with authority when they have something meaningful to contribute. They understand that leadership is about empowering others to succeed, not about being the center of attention. This requires confidence that can only come from genuine competence and strategic thinking. The transformation from common to high-class behavior begins with awareness, but requires deliberate practice. Start by monitoring your own speech patterns. Notice when you fill silences unnecessarily or speak without adding value. Practice the 3-second pause before responding to questions or criticism. Experiment with mirroring techniques in low-stakes conversations. These small changes will produce immediate feedback that reinforces the power of strategic silence. Advanced practitioners develop what could be called silence intelligence, the ability to read rooms, assess power dynamics, and deploy quiet influence strategically. They understand that different situations require different approaches. A crisis might demand immediate, clear communication, while a negotiation might benefit from extended pauses and tactical empathy. This flexibility comes from experience and emotional intelligence, not just technique. The luxury fashion industry's evolution toward quiet sophistication reflects broader cultural shifts. As information becomes cheaper and more abundant, attention becomes the scarce resource. As social media creates endless noise, authenticity becomes more valuable. As everyone tries to stand out through volume, restraint becomes distinctive. These trends will continue, making strategic silence an increasingly powerful differentiator. Remember that this is not about becoming antisocial or withdrawn. The most charismatic leaders combine strategic silence with genuine warmth and engagement. They listen actively, respond thoughtfully, and speak with purpose. They create space for others to contribute while maintaining their own influence. This balance requires emotional intelligence and genuine interest in others' success, not just personal advancement. The compound effects become visible over time. Colleagues begin to seek your input because they know you consider issues carefully. Clients trust your recommendations because your words carry weight. Friends value your opinion because you do not offer it carelessly. This reputation for thoughtful communication becomes a significant professional and personal asset that opens doors and creates opportunities. The science is clear, the examples are abundant, and the techniques are learnable. Strategic silence is not a mysterious talent reserved for the naturally gifted. It is a skill that can be developed through understanding and practice. The men who master this approach join an elite group that includes business titans, master negotiators, and true leaders. They understand that in a noisy world, the ability to create meaningful quiet becomes a superpower. Today, we have explored how strategic silence differentiates common men from those who command rooms without saying a word. We have seen how leaders like Bernard Arnault built empires not through constant chatter, but through calculated communication. We have learned that true luxury, whether in fashion or behavior, whispers rather than shouts. Most importantly, we have discovered that your ability to remain strategically silent can become your greatest source of power and influence. The principles are timeless, but their application in 2025 requires understanding contemporary dynamics. Quiet, luxury fashion continues to gain momentum because it represents authenticity in an age of artificial enhancement. Strategic silence gains power because it demonstrates confidence in an era of uncertainty. Thoughtful communication becomes more valuable as information overload makes attention the ultimate currency. Master strategic silence. Transform your presence. Command respect through restraint. The techniques we have discussed are immediately applicable, but the mastery takes time and deliberate practice. Start with small experiments and build toward larger applications. Monitor the results and adjust your approach based on feedback. Remember that the goal is not to become silent, but to become strategically selective about when and how you engage. If you found value in this exploration of masculine power dynamics, leave a like and let me know in the comments. Silence speaks volumes. Share this phrase if you are ready to wield this invisible weapon of influence. Subscribe to this channel if you want to learn more about transforming your presence, elevating your style, and developing the sophisticated behaviors that separate high-class men from the crowd. The most powerful men in the world understand this secret. Bernard Arnault controls luxury empires through strategic restraint. Master negotiators achieve better outcomes through tactical empathy and calculated pauses. Elite leaders inspire others through selective engagement rather than constant communication. Now you understand these principles too. Use them wisely, practice them consistently, and watch as your influence grows, not through the volume of your voice, but through the power of your presence. The strategic silence that differentiates common men from high-class men. While Logan Roy commanded boardrooms with intimidating stares and calculated pauses on succession, the real world's most powerful men understand something most never learn. Silence is their most potent weapon. Bernard Arnault, the man who quietly built a $500 billion luxury empire at LVMH, has reportedly imposed formal bans on his executives from communicating with certain media outlets. His approach? Control the narrative by controlling what is said, when it is said, and most importantly, what remains unsaid. But this strategic silence extends far beyond corporate boardrooms. It is the invisible line that separates men who merely wear expensive clothes from those who command respect the moment they enter a room. The most expensive fabric on earth is vicuña wool, controlled almost entirely by Loro Piana and costing more than most men make in a month for a single garment. Yet you would never know someone was wearing it unless you understood quality. This is the essence of true power. Influence that whispers rather than shouts, sophistication that reveals itself only to those who recognize excellence. The same principle applies to strategic silence, a tool so refined that common men do not even realize it exists, while high-class men wield it like a master craftsman uses his finest instrument. When most men feel the uncomfortable weight of silence, they fill it with meaningless chatter. This demonstrates weakness and creates unnecessary vulnerability. Strategic silence, however, can unsettle others, shift power dynamics, and create an advantage in negotiations. It demonstrates composure and strength in the face of criticism or provocation. The difference between a common man and a high-class man is not just what he says, but what he chooses not to say. Research from MIT's Sloan School of Management reveals that just 3-second pauses in negotiations drop participants into a more reflective state, fostering better outcomes for both parties. These pauses are not stalling, they are strategizing. Studies from the Journal of Applied Psychology confirm that silence promotes more creative problem-solving and sharper insight into the other side's true needs. When you master strategic silence, you escape reactive impulses, tap into a more reflective state, and spot opportunities that might otherwise go unnoticed. The luxury fashion industry of 2025 has proven this principle through what experts call stealth wealth. Brands like Brunello Cucinelli, The Row, and Loro Piana focus on exceptional fabrics and precise tailoring rather than flashy logos. Contemporary labels presented at Paris Fashion Week showcased dark-washed, structured denim and streamlined silhouettes, stealth wealth signifiers that speak to those who understand quality. These brands align with the old money aesthetic, prioritizing understated elegance and timeless design over flashy logos and trendy pieces. The quiet luxury movement of 2025 has proven this principle in fashion. The most sophisticated men are no longer defined by flashy designer logos, but by nuanced details that whisper sophistication. Today's status symbol man is recognized before you realize why. His clothes are not loud, but they fit perfectly, a sign of tailored precision. This same principle applies to conversation. High-class men understand that their words should carry weight precisely because they use them sparingly. But here lies a crucial distinction that separates true sophistication from mere pretense. Affordable brands like Quince now offer Mongolian cashmere for under $100, while Lestrange provides modular wardrobes designed for effortless mixing and matching. The democratization of quiet luxury aesthetics means that looking expensive is no longer about having money. It is about understanding the principles of restraint, quality, and intentionality. The same applies to strategic silence. Any man can learn to pause before speaking, but few understand the psychology behind why this pause creates power. Strategic silence works because it forces others to fill the void, often revealing more than they intended. In high-stakes negotiations, former FBI behavioral expert Joe Navarro explains that silence creates a psychological imbalance. When insurance companies showed up with 6 lawyers to intimidate him and 1 colleague, Navarro quietly requested the smallest available room. The opposing team could not physically fit, forcing them to reduce their presence to just 2 lawyers. In that moment, they neutralized a power play without needing to argue about it. This is strategic silence in action, using restraint to control the environment and outcomes. Think about the most memorable scenes from Succession. Logan Roy's power was never demonstrated through lengthy speeches, but through his ability to say nothing while others scrambled to fill the void. Logan would often leave gatherings in silence, never taking that celebratory sip of champagne. Instead, heading to his room alone. His children constantly clamored for his approval as adults, largely because he had mastered the art of strategic withdrawal. This was not coldness, it was control. The research confirms what Logan Roy instinctively understood. Studies reveal that employees are more likely to remain silent when they perceive their supervisor has high coercive power, and less likely when supervisors demonstrate reward power. Logan wielded both, but his silence amplified his coercive power, while his rare moments of approval carried extraordinary weight precisely because they were scarce. The show portrayed how the wealthiest among us have elected to be less ostentatious with displays of wealth, instead using subtlety as their primary weapon of influence. John Wayne and Gary Cooper epitomized what we call the strong, silent type. Men who convey their resolve and power through a sturdy, deliberate silence. They are silent not because they have nothing to say, but because they do not have to fill up the air with words. They do not need to be looked at to dominate. They already dominate just by looking at themselves, but they are serene about it. Other people wonder what silent people are thinking and respect their silence. This psychological phenomenon creates an aura of mystery and competence that loud voices can never achieve. But let us examine the practical applications with scientific precision. When you are in a negotiation, whether for a business deal or discussing your salary, silence creates a canvas for unspoken dynamics. It is not merely the absence of words. It is a potent weapon that can be leveraged to influence the flow and outcome of negotiations. Most men rush to fill these pauses, revealing their desperation or uncertainty. High-class men let the silence work for them. The psychology is fascinating and measurable. Power dynamics research shows that strategic silence helps negotiators shift from reactive posturing to an intentional, purpose-driven approach. Instead of rushing to counter a proposal or justify a position, Pausing allows professionals to reflect on their goals, assess the other party's needs, and reset the rhythm of the conversation. This aligns with what negotiation experts call concede according to plan, moving with intent rather than impulse. Consider the technique of mirroring in negotiations. When someone mentions concerns about efficiency, a strategic pause, followed by simply repeating efficiency, prompts them to elaborate further. This is not manipulation, it is tactical empathy. You are not passively receiving information, you are actively guiding the conversation toward mutually beneficial solutions. The person who masters this builds rapport and trust while gaining critical insights into their counterparts' fears, motivations, and constraints. Research links overconfidence in decision-making to excessive talk and a lack of reflection. By pausing before responding or avoiding unnecessary chatter, leaders can circumvent hasty conclusions and flawed choices that damage credibility over time. When Bernard Arnault built his empire, he was not the loudest voice in any room. His results did the talking. LVMH delivered a staggering 16.4% annualized return since 1989, more than double the S&P 500's pace. This is the power of strategic silence, translated into measurable success. Arnault's leadership style is characterized by empowerment and delegation. He believes in hiring the best talent and giving them the autonomy and resources they need to succeed. His approach to leadership is not about micromanaging, but about setting clear goals and expectations, and then trusting his team to deliver. This confidence to remain quiet while others execute demonstrates the ultimate form of masculine authority. Silence becomes a strategic weapon when you understand that it conveys control, competence, and unshakable confidence. The media blacklist that Arnault imposed on LVMH executives demonstrates another layer of strategic silence. By controlling communication channels and restricting information flow to certain outlets, he weaponized silence at a corporate level. This is not secrecy for its own sake, it is strategic information management. As the owner of Le Parisien and Les Echos, Arnault finds himself in a unique position where he controls not only luxury industry narratives, but also sectors of the French press. This duality between imposed silence and controlled speech illustrates how true power operates, not through noise, but through calculated restraint. The concept extends far beyond corporate environments. In daily interactions, when someone criticizes you in a meeting, your first instinct might be to defend yourself immediately. However, remaining silent in the face of criticism or provocative statements can demonstrate composure and strength, shifting the balance of power in your favor. The man who responds instantly appears reactive. The man who pauses, considers, and then responds appears thoughtful and in control. This psychological effect is measurable and immediate. In social situations, strategic silence counters the effect of the most eager and confident people speaking first, while the more thoughtful people put together their ideas and responses. Research shows that after a question or topic has been raised, enforcing a full minute of silence allows more thoughtful contributions. While others rush to impress with their knowledge or humor, you create intrigue through your restraint. People begin to wonder what you are thinking, and that curiosity elevates your status in the room. The continuation of quiet luxury in 2025 fashion reflects this same principle. Brands like The Row, Brunello Cucinelli, and Bottega Veneta focus on excellent materials, craftsmanship, and timeless design. They avoid trendy styles that quickly go out of fashion, offering high-quality, understated elegance. The Row was founded by Ashley Olsen and Mary-Kate Olsen in 2005, when they challenged themselves to create the perfect t-shirt. This single piece later expanded into seasonal capsules and runway showcases. Their focus on exceptional fabrics and precise tailoring across all ranges demonstrates how true luxury emerges from obsessive attention to fundamentals rather than flashy innovation. Similarly, Brunello Cucinelli's story began in the late 1970s as a couture house making Mongolian cashmere garments specifically for women. Cucinelli did not plan on getting into fashion. It was his wife's small clothing shop that gave him the idea. Almost 50 years later, the brand has expanded into men's and children's ranges, all while maintaining the same philosophy of understated excellence. Their commitment to timeless style and impeccable craftsmanship has earned them a devoted following among those who appreciate quiet luxury. This mirrors how strategic silence develops, starting with small, intentional choices that compound into undeniable presence. Your communication style should mirror this approach, timeless, considered, and powerful in its restraint. Quiet luxury fashion is characterized by meticulous focus on high-quality materials, expert craftsmanship, and timeless design. Unlike trends that come and go, these brands prioritize quality over quantity, creating pieces meant to last. Their designs are often minimalist, featuring logo-free clothing that avoids loud branding. This approach to fashion is driven by a desire for subtlety and refinement, appealing to those who appreciate finer details and the art of subtle luxury. However, strategic silence must be deployed with precision and understanding. Men risk being misinterpreted by their silence. Its source could be the desire to maintain power and control, or it could simply be that they are shy or uncomfortable in a situation that requires emotional sharing of feelings. The key is intentionality. Your silence should serve a purpose, not stem from insecurity or lack of preparation. Research from organizational psychology shows that silence can be both positively and negatively received, depending on context and execution. Consider the cautionary tale of architect Frank Gehry, who attended group therapy meetings for 2 years without uttering a word. Finally, the group turned on him, attacking him for his silence. Projects were falling through not because people did not like his work, but because they were uncomfortable with him. His quietness hurt his ability to engage with clients successfully. This illustrates why strategic silence must be balanced with emotional intelligence and situational awareness. The most sophisticated practitioners understand that silence is not about withdrawal. It is about selective engagement. They recognize when to speak and when to remain quiet based on strategic objectives rather than emotional comfort. This requires developing what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, understanding not just what you're thinking, but how your silence affects others and advances your goals. Elite negotiators create feelings of sympathy and understanding even with people most others shun, but they do so through calculated presence rather than empty chatter. Psychological benefits of silence include enhanced creativity, focus, self-control, self-awareness, perspective, and spirituality. When you master strategic silence, you give yourself time to think, to observe, and to respond from a position of strength rather than emotion. This creates space for deeper insights, better information processing, and clearer decision-making. By distancing yourself from external distractions and immersing in silence, you access inner wisdom, make well-informed choices, and align actions with values. This principle extends to digital communication as well. In 2025, looking expensive has less to do with designer logos and more to do with intention. The goal is to look refined, not like you are trying to flex. Similarly, your online presence should reflect this same strategic restraint. The man who responds to every comment, who shares every thought, appears desperate for attention. The man who curates his digital presence with the same care he applies to his wardrobe commands respect. The stealth wealth aesthetic that dominates contemporary fashion proves this point. It is literally about dressing simply while maintaining exceptional quality, sticking to menswear neutrals and silhouettes that fit and frame your body type appropriately. Wearing your actual sizes without going baggy or skinny creates an impression of competence and sophistication. Zero brand logos are displayed, though subtle nods to other stealth wealth types are common. It is similar to how common projects Achilles sneakers have that small gold stamp that only those in the know recognize. This exclusivity creates what experts call an "if you know" mentality. Think about David Beckham's evolution from flashy footballer to sophisticated businessman. His most powerful moments in recent years have not been his most vocal ones, but rather his calculated appearances and carefully chosen partnerships. He has learned that true influence comes not from constant visibility, but from meaningful presence. When he does speak or appear publicly, it carries weight precisely because it is measured and intentional. Luxury brands understand this psychology intimately. Quiet luxury brands are often less well-known than mainstream fashion brands, adding a sense of exclusivity and refinement. This discreet approach to luxury appeals to those who prefer to make a statement through quality and elegance rather than bold branding. The appeal lies in offering a sophisticated, responsible, and timeless approach that resonates with those who value quality and elegance above all. Money screams, but wealth whispers. Quiet luxury is not just a passing trend, it is a shift in how we approach style and consumption. As we move into 2025, this understated luxury aesthetic continues to gain momentum, emphasizing quality, craftsmanship, and timeless elegance over flashy logos and fleeting trends. Your communication style should reflect this same evolution towards sophistication. When you master strategic silence, you transform from a man who speaks to be heard into a man whose words carry weight because they are rare. You become someone others listen to, not because you are the loudest in the room, but because when you speak, it matters. This is the invisible power that separates high-class men from everyone else. The art of strategic silence requires practice and confidence, but the techniques are learnable and measurable. Start small. In your next meeting, resist the urge to fill every pause. When someone asks for your opinion, take a moment before responding. Watch how this simple change shifts the dynamic of the room. People will lean in when you speak because they know you do not waste words. Count to 6 during silence. Invariably, someone will speak during that time, often revealing more than they intended. The technique of labeling emotions is particularly powerful. When you sense frustration in a negotiation, saying, "It seems like you are frustrated with the current process," creates space for the other party to clarify their position. This leads to more constructive negotiations because you demonstrate understanding without being judgmental. Summarizing the other party's main concerns in your words reinforces comprehension and encourages further discussion. These are not manipulation tactics. They are tools of tactical empathy that build trust while gathering critical information. Advanced practitioners understand that power dynamics in negotiations involve 4 components: potential power, perceived power, power tactics, and realized power. Strategic silence operates across all 4 dimensions. Your potential power increases because you control information flow. Your perceived power grows because others view restraint as confidence. Your power tactics become more sophisticated because you respond deliberately rather than reactively. Your realized power expands because better information leads to better outcomes. Research confirms that negotiators who use strategic silence achieve better results for all parties involved. They escape reactive impulses, tap into more reflective states, and spot opportunities that might otherwise go unnoticed. This aligns with the principle that silence helps negotiators shift from reactive posturing to intentional, purpose-driven approaches. Instead of rushing to counter-proposals or justify positions, pausing allows reflection on goals and assessment of other parties' needs. Bernard Arnault's extraordinary success is indebted to his strategic prowess and profound business acumen. His ability to balance commerciality with artistic independence demonstrates the delicate art that true leaders master. Like Arnault, you can wield silence as a tool of influence, creating space for others to reveal their intentions while maintaining your own strategic advantage. Arnault's decentralized approach means decisions happen fast, close to the market, and with real accountability. He does not micromanage. He empowers teams while expecting entrepreneurial thinking within the group structure. Under Arnault's leadership, LVMH has grown to become the largest company by market capitalization in the Eurozone. His strategic acquisitions, from Christian Dior to Tiffany, demonstrate how quiet power operates, through calculated moves rather than public proclamations. The acquisition of Tiffany alone involved complex negotiations where silence and strategic communication proved more valuable than aggressive posturing. When LVMH filed counterclaims during the pandemic, they did so through legal channels rather than media battles, demonstrating how sophisticated entities manage information strategically. The brands within Arnault's empire exemplify quiet luxury principles. Hermès, with its iconic Birkin and Kelly bags that remain understated despite being highly coveted status symbols. Brunello Cucinelli, with its focus on noble fibers and humanistic capitalism. And Loro Piana, with its control of the world's finest natural cloths, including the eye-wateringly expensive vicuña. These brands succeed not through loud marketing, but through whispered recommendations among those who understand quality. This creates what economists call affordable affluence for the aspiring, where average consumers purchase goods perceived as exclusive yet still attainable. Brands like COS, Massimo Dutti, and Uniqlo make cashmere essentials more accessible, allowing broader audiences to embrace quiet luxury aesthetics without exorbitant costs. The key insight is that principles matter more than price points. You can apply stealth wealth concepts, regardless of budget, by focusing on fit, fabric quality within your range, and timeless silhouettes rather than trend-driven pieces. Remember, fashion is not just what you wear. It extends to how you carry yourself, how you speak, and crucially, how you choose not to speak. Strategic silence influences leadership effectiveness, perceptions, and establishes organizational power. When you master this principle, you join the ranks of men who understand that true power whispers while weakness shouts. The most sophisticated approach involves understanding when to deploy silence versus when to engage, based on strategic objectives rather than emotional comfort. Contemporary status symbols for the wealthy include inconspicuous designer clothing and discreet, yet expensive jewelry. But the ultimate status symbol is behavioral, the ability to command attention through restraint rather than volume. This requires developing what experts call metacognitive awareness, understanding not just what you are thinking, but how your communication style affects others and advances your goals. The rise of social media has led to increased spectatorship of wealthy lifestyles, but true luxury emphasizes privacy and discourages overt displays that might make one a target. The psychological mechanisms are well documented. Research shows that those who pause tend to speak more clearly and with more influence when they do respond. Studies confirm that silence contributes to increased self-advocacy, especially when others apply pressure. Power dynamics research reveals that strategic silence creates psychological imbalances that can be leveraged in negotiations. When you refuse to fill uncomfortable pauses, you force others to reveal information, make concessions, or expose their true priorities. But understanding why silence works is only the beginning. Implementation requires emotional intelligence, situational awareness, and genuine confidence rather than mere technique. The difference between strategic silence and social awkwardness lies in intentionality and purpose. High-class men deploy silence to achieve specific outcomes, not to avoid engagement. They understand that silence amplifies their words when they do choose to speak, creating a multiplicative effect on their influence. If you want to transform your presence from ordinary to extraordinary, if you want to learn how elegance extends beyond your wardrobe into every aspect of how you present yourself to the world, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Your journey toward becoming a man of true influence starts with understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Today, we have explored how strategic silence differentiates common men from those who command rooms without saying a word. We have seen how leaders like Bernard Arnault built empires not through constant chatter, but through calculated communication. We have learned that true luxury, whether in fashion or behavior, whispers rather than shouts. Most importantly, we have discovered that your ability to remain strategically silent can become your greatest source of power and influence. Master strategic silence, transform your presence, command respect through restraint. If you found value in this exploration of masculine power dynamics, leave a like and let me know in the comments. Silence speaks volumes. Share this phrase if you are ready to wield this invisible weapon of influence. The most powerful men in the world understand this secret. Now you do too. Use it wisely.